lost in my mind. Send a postcard, send it to my friends. No number, no return address. Walking in the sky keeps falling down. I'm starting to notice a sound. Everything around me hits the ground, and I can't escape it. And I can't escape it. I've been walking out on my own. I've been losing sleep while I'm at home. I don't need my leaders to
Are you going to give us a countdown, are you? Are we live yet or not?
We are live.
So you're going to signal me to start, yeah? Hey,
We've already started.
we're on.
You're live, Mike.
Get going, Dean. Is that what you're telling me?
Basically.
Basically, thanks, Dean. Man, a few words. Well, it's great to have everyone here for Leading Ladies webinar, and it's my distinct pleasure to be able to host and spend a few minutes with the great Elsie Corby. We've had many chats. In fact, we're just having one.
Yes.
And
yeah.
it's great to have you here. Thanks very much for giving up your time and sharing your story.
You're welcome, Mike.
And your journey. So thanks
Yeah.
very much. So a real treat, I hope, ahead. But I'm
Yeah.
going to ask the question. So tell us, what did you do before real estate? So we know the Elsie Corby getting on stage all the time.
Yeah.
Interesting. I pulled these stats out just as an example. I think some might find this really interesting. Elsie's career, 1,876 sales. It's incredible.
It's
For
amazing.
840 million. And in your prime market, your average sale price, even today, that's lifted over the years. That's
Yes.
what, 500, 600?
Yeah. Or, no, not 600. Yeah, 500 and a little bit less. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. For not that it's about the money, but for just shy of
Yes.
20 million
Yeah.
gross commission. Amazing
Yeah.
career. But what
Yeah.
did you do beforehand? Who was Elsie Corby before real estate?
To be honest, my looking after my kids was always important to me. So I always had little jobs. I didn't like to just be at home. So I always had little jobs, and I always liked to be home when the kids got home from school, and be, a hands-on mum with the children. So although I had little jobs here and there, the prime job for me was bringing up my children until
And they're great
later.
kids. Like we have to put
I
up.
think so.
We've got a couple of them in the business, obviously part of
Yes.
Doug, which is
Yeah.
really
Like
rewarding.
it and tell both work. Yes.
And we'll get to Doug in a minute. But so this competitiveness, like you really are a competitor. Like you don't like losing much at all, in my opinion anyway. You can tell me I'm wrong, but were you always competitive?
Yes, I think I have always been competitive. I don't know if it's competitive, but I just like to do my very best. And to be able to do my very best, I think you should be top of your game. So I try and get to number one. So whatever I did, I always did to the best of my ability.
Any examples like, I know you shared one actually with me earlier.
Yes.
Could you share that
Yeah.
one?
I wouldn't mind sharing because it's funny, really. When we first came from Africa and the girls were just at school and Phil was at work, my husband was at work all day, I got a little job at McDonald's, and that was like, I don't know, I would have been about 25, something like that. And I was put on the drive-through because I was the fastest at serving customers. And drive-through, you have to be quick, waiting for the next client. And I don't know what McDonald's is like now, but they used to clock everything. So they clock you to see how fast you answer the mic and how fast you can get the food delivered to the door so you can get to the next client. And I was always number one with that. And I made sure I stayed number one. So I've always been competitive, no matter what I've done, even as a child, swimming or playing tennis or whatever. I always wanted to do the best, basically.
Fantastic. And we see that every day with your with what you do in real estate. So really, how did it come about? So you're raising the kids and you're... Yes,
I was raising the kids, and then we decided, my husband's always been from Africa. He's always wanted land. And he wanted to go to 5 acres, and I thought it was in the boondocks somewhere. So I said to him, okay, you find the block of land and then I'll choose the house we build. So within a week, he found a block in Baldivis. It was 5 acres, and we built the house. So that's how we sort of started. But to buy the block and build, we had our house on the market with a competitor, and the owner of the business came and opened my house because my rep had to go to a funeral. And he looked at all the books that I read, and he waited for me to come home, and he said, have you thought about being in real estate? All the books that you read, they're all self-development. And I think most agents do read those type of books. So he offered me a job. So that's how I got into real estate, purely by accident, really.
Fantastic. And the lesson in there not to be missed, of course, is, you know, the reading and the research and the effort you put into
always improving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always improving.
Even before real estate and the world of self-improvement that is in real estate. So you get into real estate with this competitor, Ray White, that is. So how was that? So you arrived day one. What was it like?
It was actually woeful when I look at it now, you know, how Ray White do things. I was shown a desk and I said, this is your desk, and here's a phone, so landline. And I thought, well, aren't we meant to have a mobile so that they can ring me back and not the office back, that type of thing? And they just left me to it and said, off you go. So I sat there and I just watched the other reps in the office, and they really weren't doing anything. So I would get up every morning, I'd put my joggers on. I always wear joggers, and I'd wear my uniform with the jacket, and off I go and drop leaflets. And that's how I got started, but no one in the office did any work. They just waited for the phone to ring. So in those days, people would come into the office, which they don't now because we've got the internet being so good. So I was out there working sort of from day one. And within 3 months, I was listing and selling more than the top rep in the office. And I remember the one time my boss said to me, the owner of the business said to me, he rang and he said, where are you? So I said, oh, I'm on, looked where I was. I said, I'm on Smith Street, number 21. And he said, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm doing my letter drops. Aren't I meant to do this? I spent 8 hours a day on my feet, just putting, and then if I saw anyone that was tidying the garden or it looked like possibly they're getting ready to sell, I'd get up enough courage to go and knock on the door. But we were never taught in those days to knock on the doors, not in that office anyway. So that's how I got started, but very little help.
So you had to learn all that yourself?
Yes. Well, I'd just done my course and they said, do this, do this, do this. And I've always been one that I've watched successful people and I just copy what they do. I think, well, why reinvent the wheel? Why try and do something else? If I can watch a successful person and emulate them, and the books I was reading, I thought, okay, they say do this, do this, do this. So I would just do that and it works. You just have to get out there and do it.
I think it's interesting. Part of that story is I've always seen you as very confident, and yet you're and you're having great, almost fearless in the way you've gone about working with your clients and also getting more business. And yet you had that trepidation, knocking on doors or directly contacting people.
Well, if you knew me 20 years ago, I was extremely shy. If I was in a group of people, I would be the one that never spoke. I was extremely shy. I had no confidence. And so when I first started off, I was too shy to go knock on a door, but I soon learned if you don't ask, you don't get. So you have to ask for the business.
Yeah.
And I quickly learned that's where most reps go wrong. They don't actually ask. You might go and do an appraisal, but never leave without saying, well, shall we do the paperwork now? And a lot of times people will say yes. Sometimes they'll say, oh no, I want to think about it or whatever, but always ask for the business. And I soon learned I needed to do that. And then when I did it, I realized it's not as bad as as I felt it's going to be. And even getting rejected, I just thought, well, once I've knocked on so many doors, I must never finish on a rejection. I must just keep going until somebody nice, even if it's a nice few words or whatever. So I would never finish that on a rejection, because we get a lot of rejections in this job. So you just have to learn, just flow with it and just wait until you've met somebody really nice. And there are lovely, lovely people out there.
Fantastic. Yeah. So I think it's not uninteresting or unimportant to acknowledge that when you're talking about getting into real estate, and when you're raising your kids, there was a real delineation for women around what women were supposed to do and what the man was supposed to do and all that sort of stuff. So you really transitioned all of that era. I mean, what does Philip do these days?
Oh, he's been retired for quite a few years now. So he's a little bit older than I am, but we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for his hard work. And I think I've learned the hard work from him, because he worked 24/7 to supply everything for the family, to look after us, to pay for the house, to do all the things that dads do. So I learned hard work from him. So it didn't, it sort of rubs off, doesn't it?
Look, examples are great, but my point was also you've transitioned, if you look at your career, across very different eras in terms of thinking and opportunity. And you've now got women coming through, starting their careers much younger, whereas...
Yes, when I started, there weren't as many women in real estate, and certainly not, in the top echelon. So it was something that you sort of had to overcome to realize, well, we're not as good as men. I don't want to sound that way, but we can do anything we set our minds to. It's not about...
good, good or bad or any of that. It's just
and I must say, real estate's one of those professions that it doesn't matter who you are. You can be old or young, you can be a lady or a man, you can be whatever, and you can still be successful in this industry, and you can earn the same sort of money. So you don't see that in many professions. We've really got a fabulous, I just love real estate. I've always loved it, even from the day I started. It just gets into your blood, and you just want to do the best that you can for your clients. And it's great just to wow them and, to see that smile on their face when they find something. But yes, there was that transition from being a mum to being a career lady is very different.
And you have used all of that experience to create the business that you've got today, and real estate clearly loves you.
Yes,
because you've done extraordinarily well, as I was alluding to in those numbers that we went through. So you're working for a competitor, and you did obviously transition through to Ray White. What was your experience with Ray White when you arrived? Was there much?
It was actually chalk and cheese, to be honest. I went to Ray White, and straight away there was the training that you could have. It didn't matter who I asked questions; they were always helpful. There was always something available, So if you've got it in you, you just need to ask. You just need to look, and all the training is there. Like when we first started, and we went. I mean, this is years ago. I don't know how long Mike McLeod's been training us, but we go to the to the convention center or wherever, and he'd be training you. Like, that was unheard of. We never had any big trainers like that previously. But you could just ask anyone. And I remember Miff Porter as well. That was the early days. And with her training, like, she just said to me, Elsie, you need a PA. Like, I'd never thought, who would have thought in those days that you should have a PA? And she just said, and you shouldn't be cleaning your own house. And you should get all these things in place so that you're not working yourself, to the bone, just so that you Yeah, so you can enjoy your job. So I did all the things that she said. That's one thing I've always done. If somebody's given me advice, I like to take it. If it's good advice.
And that's why so many of those people like Miff still speaks fondly of you, and of course Mac is a massive fan, as you know.
Yes.
And that's because of that open mind that you have, which is another lesson, I suppose, for everybody watching, is that the openness of your mind. You don't seem to be closed on just about any topic. It's
my family think that I'm gullible because I'll listen to anyone and then I'll weigh it up if it's right or wrong. But I would prefer to call it an open mind. I'm always open to anything new. If there's something new that will improve the business or myself just in everyday life, in whatever, then I'm onto it and I'll do it for sure.
If you're gullible, I want to be more gullible too. So you've had enormous success over a long period of time. It's not like it's been tell me about the rise over the last 2 to 5 years. This is an amazing body of work. Your career. Why do you reckon you've been more successful than most?
I think I am very lucky in that you've always said to me, I've got a big motor.
Yes.
I can handle a lot of work and I can handle a lot of stress. With growing up and what have you in Africa, if you didn't work, you didn't eat. So I just always knew if you work hard, then everything will follow. So to be able to have kept that for so long, I could never do it without the help of my family. Firstly, like my husband supports me. Doug is behind me every step of the way. Chantel helps me, but I've got this most amazing PA, which Amy Sullivan.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how much work I give her, she can keep up and more, so I'll mention something and she's already done it for me. It doesn't matter what I ask her to do. She's just amazing. So to have the support, to have an admin support, you couldn't do what I do without that. So it's
building a team.
Definitely building a team, being effective business unit, as they call it.
Yeah.
You need to have, you need to be able to, I just list and sell. I'm with people all the time. I'm in front of people, and then I just come back to the office and I plonk it on the desk and I know everything will be done. So I think it's just having someone that's extremely organized, who organizes me. Like I just open my diary and I know exactly where I'm going to be. I can make my appointments for my appraisals and my listings and what have you, but my home opens, that's a mammoth task because I carry so much stock. So Amy has to always log in my, where am I going to be? And I just open my diary and I know that's where I'm going. Yeah. So she's done all the back work for me. So
you've developed this team, and Amy's been with you.
She's been with me for over 10 years now. Yeah.
That's it's not unheard of, but it's certainly more the exception than the rule. PAs, being with top producers.
Yes.
It's quite a stressful environment for some PAs working with someone at your pace.
Yes.
It's like I always say it's like trying to run with Elliot Kipchoge in a marathon. But it's a really important thing that in developing the relationship with Amy. And why has that been so strong? What are your lessons to anyone who's going to get a PA and things they could emulate in building their team so that the people?
I think you've got to identify. I'm very, very lucky with Amy because she was a settlement agent for 25 years. And worked in the bank for 25 years. So she had that stability. So when we interviewed her, I thought, well, I've never known anyone to be in a job for 25 years. So the stability, but also the organisation skills. So to choose the right PA is very, very important. I have Chantel help me with home opens, and she does that side of things, and I couldn't be without her either. But to have the admin, that's important. If you don't get that right, it's very hard to keep the rest in order. Yeah. So you need to have the right person in that position.
Yeah, fantastic, great advice, and certainly part of what we now call Pathways, and being one of the key programs in developing teams and becoming a leader of your sales, as you say, EBU. Yeah. So eventually, though, working as an agent. And you actually, the owners of the business you moved to within Ray White made your partner.
Yes.
But then you made the decision to branch out and to have completely your own business in partnership.
Yeah.
Tell us what drove you to do that.
I think just having a say in my destiny, really, in what I want to do and how I want to achieve it.
Yeah.
Doug's been a most amazing support there. Like he said, Mum, you could do this with your hands tied behind your back. And because he's got the brains, I've got the work ethic. Well, he works very, very hard. He works early hours in the morning up to, but he can think about the business and work on the business, whereas I'm a workaholic. So I work in the business, and that just worked well for us. So we decided, well, we think we can do this, you know, on our own, which I'm pleased that we did. Because we work in a pocket that I lived in Baldivis. We worked in a pocket I loved, and I knew people there, and I'd been working in that area for 20 years. So it just made sense. Yeah,
so there's a lesson in here to sort of for us to flesh out, and that is sort of top producers have the ambition to own their own business. And you made a comment when we were chatting about what we might cover here, but that, you know, if you'd done this on your own, it could have been disaster.
It could have been, yes.
But because you found that yin and yang with Doug, Doug doing all the things you didn't want to do, like Amy within your own team, the really importance of having that other partner to do that, other person to lead the other parts of the business. Is that sort of fair to say that? It's
very fair to say that. And I think that's why we're successful, because we work on the strengths that we have. I realise I'm not good at admin. I realise I'm not good at, like Doug heads up the property management department and is very good at that. Whereas I would be hopeless. So it's a really good partnership in that we each have our own strengths, and we work at our strengths, and we pass on the things that we aren't good at. It's, you know, it's no good doing something if you're not good at it.
Absolutely. And now you've got people coming through the business, so you mentor other people as well. Probably by example.
It would be more by example. I'm always there if anyone wants to ask a question. If they don't ask questions, I don't. It's no good. You know, you can't lead a horse to water. If that, you know, what's that saying?
You can only lead them to water.
Yeah, you can only lead them to water, and they'll only drink if they want to. So I wait unless they ask me. I don't volunteer it.
Another property.
Obviously, if it's my PA, like I've had Eli with me, I would give him advice and tell him how he should do things. And the same with Chantel, who's absolutely amazing. I'd be lost without her. She follows everything up with me, you know, Saturdays, Sundays. Mum, you haven't put the feedback in. Without that, I'd be, you know, I wouldn't be as good as I am. So it does, it all works together.
Beautiful. So I'm trying to build a career in real estate. Maybe I'm listening to this online today and weighing up, what should I do? How should I start out? What's your advice to someone who's just joined the industry or is looking to build their career, maybe perhaps even restart their career, but what's your advice to them in getting started?
If I started again like today, which would be very interesting, it would be very different, because obviously now we've got the data model. So it's easier to keep in touch with people, and we've got Nurture Cloud. So all of that helps us so much. So I would make sure that I learned all the systems, got into obviously a franchise that offer all those things, but really take on board the training that's available, and then just be pleasant to people. It's just the simple things. Like I'm out with clients all the time, and they'll say, I had someone from our organization ring and say, what do you think to this property? Because I've not heard from the agent. I've emailed and I've rung and I've still not heard back 24 hours later. And I said, well, they're just lazy. So you just need to get back to people. You need to answer the phone. You need to be pleasant. It's the basic things that people, you just need to be pleasant and get back to people. Communication is so important in our industry.
So you mentioned resilience or persistence in, keeping, getting past the rejections and things like that, not going to get yes every time. the days where you doubt yourself, or you have to, sort of pick your socks up, sort of stuff?
I don't think a day doesn't go by that I think, I could have done that better.
Yeah.
So yes, you're always trying to improve and pick your socks up and, improve in areas.
Yeah, fantastic. It always fascinates me watching you work. It's your motor, as we all sort of refer to it that way, is incredible. Your capacity for work, and I think everyone's capacity is different. I suppose I look and I'm very jealous at the amount you're able to do. Evidence would suggest, based on the number of top women in our group, particularly here in WA, actually, that there is an advantage in being a woman in sales and being, at the top end and producing great results, because of the ability to do more. Does that come from having to juggle family and all the other bits that you've got to do, to keep things going, and then you take all that and apply it to a career?
Yes, I think that does certainly help. I think we have got the upper hand there, because you've been bringing children up and doing this and trying to cook and, get the washing in and all that sort of stuff early on in the piece. So it's easy. Like if you carry as many listings as I have, every listing has a story. Yeah. So you've got to be able to juggle things and just switch from one to the other and remember things. So yes, being a woman and being able to do more than one thing. I know I love Doug to pieces, but he can only do one thing and he doesn't want to be disturbed. And you do it 100%. And I think that's where we're so different. I'm into productivity and he's into perfection. And I will always make so many mistakes, which can be fixed up. But when I say mistakes, they're not serious ones, but he always wants to be precise with things. And because I'm doing so many things, I'm most probably not 100% correct. So it's not always a good thing. It's not always the best thing, but I'm always into productivity and he's into perfection. He's like his dad.
Well, both engineers probably tell us something about that, but it's good that you've got that yin and yang. And the thing of being self-aware and being aware that this is what I'm good at.
Yes.
And this is what I need help with, and I need someone else to do that sort of thing. It's a really powerful thing to understand yourself.
Yes.
And to be able to then apply that to your business, it's fascinating. So I don't know how much time we've got left, but certainly one of the things I wanted to touch on was adversity and stuff like that. So you do a high volume of sales. I know you've had a couple of critics in your market, competitors largely.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll leave that there. I could have gone further, but it rattle your cage a bit?
It does rattle my cage, but I always have to come back to being true to myself and realizing I am good enough, and not to worry about certain things that happen and that are said out in the marketplace when I know it's not true. Yeah. So you always have to come back and just realize, if you're true to yourself and you're being honest and you're being everything that you should be, and you keep your integrity, then I just think back on that all the time. But yes, I've had sleepless nights of things that have happened in my career, and what competitors have said that are not true. Yeah. But you just have to come back to your core and do what is right and keep your integrity every step of the way.
Do you do anything that helps you with that? Do you go for long walks or?
I go to the gym 3 times a week, but I've got a strong faith. So that my strong faith, that's what I rely on. When I come back, I've always got God to pray to, and I've always got him there. Okay. So it's not something that I put out there very often, but I have got a strong faith. And I think without God, I would be nowhere. It's just, he's been there every step of the way.
It's such an important thing to have something that you go to when
yes, definitely,
to deal with stuff.
Yeah,
and having sort of been with you and involved, even albeit from a support point of view or a sideline point of view through some of those interesting things. it's always quite unfair. And you think, gosh, what a compliment. They really must be worried. Elsie's got them really worried. You know, they've had to resort to this sort of stuff. But to see you push through that or overcome it or deal with it, whatever, however best to express that. Almost lost for proper expression on that, but it's been a real inspiration to see you come through all of that. And there's enough pressure doing the deals, the volume of deals you do, without having to deal with a bit of a sniper on the side there trying to take a pot shot without any background. And in the consumer world where we're bound to answer that, we all can get a mark from time to time and how to deal with those sort of complaints.
And I think in our career, we have to be able to bounce back very quickly. Even though I've had many tears and many sleepless nights of things that have happened in my career and some really nasty people, you've always got to try and bounce back, because it's amazing. Like we get the, we get scored on our service and what have you, but you might get 10 really good comments and then you get one that says how horrible you are. And you only concentrate on that one. And I don't know why we do that. So you have to spring back all the time and just say, well, look at the other 9 people that have been happy. And there's always a reason why you haven't been able to keep somebody happy. So you have to spring back very quickly in this game, because you can get down if you don't. So
picking yourself up and
straight away.
Going again and being in charge of your own view of yourself.
Exactly. And just letting things go.
Fantastic stuff. So as we wrap things up, for everyone who's listening out there, any final words of advice on how to have a fulfilling career, whether that be doing 1,876 sales or not, but any advice on how to have a fulfilling career and to really, go for what you want?
I think you just have to keep, when I say balance, I'm most probably the most unbalanced real estate agent I know, but to keep balance, my important part in my life is my family. To make sure that you catch up with them. Like I love it. Every birthday, we always invite everyone around. Christmas, we always invite people, the family around. So in your career, you must have the positive parts. So the people that love you, surround yourself with them and have really good friends, but work hard as well at the same time. So I think it's just having that balance, but you have to work hard. It doesn't come easy.
I love that. Have to work hard. And on that note, no one better deliver that message than Elsie Corby. And if I could just say on behalf of Dan and the whole family and myself here, thank you for everything.
Thanks
for sharing today. And I hope all of you listening have got something from that. Leading ladies, well personified, we have here the lovely Elsie Corby. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks, Elsie.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.